not on the field, court or ice. You are on the couch. From DG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, C. Wall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's C-Ball, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. See all that we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your weekly DMV sports update, and I am your host, C. Wall, checking in as I enjoy doing each and every single week for the most part to give you all the latest and greatest information of everything that is happening in DMV sports. There's always so much going on. So sometimes we can't get to everything in our 30 minutes together, but we definitely do try. I see some of the biggest DMV sports fans checking in already. I see Damon and Eric Jessup and Cameron Mingo. Make sure you all are dropping in the chat a hello to Mama Waller and Pops Waller, because we know that they are watching somewhere, as they always do. Make sure you all are sharing this show with your DMV sports loving family and friends, because we always have a lot to discuss. Even my uncle, who's also my godfather, give him a high five, a love button. Robert Topley has joined the conversation as well. So you all give him a shout out. A reminder to everybody, as you are hopping in and you're dropping all kinds of comments into the chat, this is a live Bowie television recording. Most of what we do and say here is also aired each and every single day on Bowie television. If you have Verizon Fios, it is channel 11. And if you have Comcast Xfinity, it is channel 77. Okay? Folks, if you're on, make sure you're hitting that love button. Make sure you are sharing the show with your DMV sports loving family and friends. This episode is brought to you all by Uplift Property Suite. Let's say hello, everyone, to our great and wonderful friends at Uplift Property Suite. Customers can find them online at www.upliftpropertysuite.com, where they are uplifting lives through property ownership. Shout out to them, and thank you all so much for your support. All right, DMV sports fans, are you ready? Are you ready? We have a Maryland Terps update, Washington Spirit, Washington Nationals, the Wizards, and of course, the Commanders, because of course, we're going to, talk about the Commanders. And I see Lydell Mann Sr. has jumped in the chat. Again, hit that love button and make sure you're sharing the show. So, hot off the press information today. Lady Terps star Diamond Miller has announced that she has decided to enter the 2023 WNBA draft. She says, after much prayer and consideration, I have decided to enter the 2023 WNBA draft. She had such a lovely set of photos and comments to share with her teammates, with her coaches. Love button, fire emoji, applause for Diamond Miller. She had such an incredible season. The entire staff did. As I shared with you all in last week's episode, Coach Brenda Freeze shared that this past offseason was the toughest of her 21-year career. She lost 85%. of her team, 85 in the transfer portal. What? 85%? And for this team, this coaching staff to come back and make the Elite Eight, we know there can only be one champion. But let's hear it for the Lady Terps in the way that they faced adversity and was able to come back in a year where folks thought we weren't going to hear anything from them, and rightfully so, because they lost so much of their roster just this past offseason. We want to wish Diamond Miller nothing but the best. We know that she is going to kill it in the WNBA. She's just, because she's already fantastic. And just overall, Coach Brenda Freeze and staff and team, wonderful, wonderful job. We are all so very proud of you, making the Elite Eight, facing the adversity head on, and just going out there and doing your thing. Amazing job. So make sure you all drop them a line if you have not already, because that is pretty. It was pretty, I had to see when I saw Diamond Miller was declaring for the WNBA draft. I'm like, okay, of course she is. Why wouldn't she? But then I said, okay, maybe I'm a little teary-eyed, because I mean, hey, when you get an opportunity to cover these players and they're amazing and they're in your town, you hate to see them go, but that's a part of the journey. We all move on at some point, right, you all? So shout out to the Terps. Opening day today, Nats fans, love button, fire emoji. The Nats did lose. The Nats did lose on opening day. We'll get to that in a moment. Washington Spirit fans, where are you? The Washington Spirit started their season earlier this week. Shout out to them. Thought it was important for you all to know all the different ways that you can catch the Washington Spirit. This season, they have 9 away games that are going to air on NBC Sports Washington starting this weekend as part of their partnership with Monumental. So here's some of the dates here. Hope you can see them when you go back and watch the show. You'll see them again. If you see them on television, hopefully it's big enough for you on the screen. I really wanted to post this as well, because one of their away game dates that's up here is May the 20th. That is my birthday. So I just I wanted to be a little selfish and say, hey, that's my birthday. I just want to remind and let everybody know not to forget that day. At any rate, best of luck to both teams on the season. I've mentioned this throughout the year when seasons start, when teams start their seasons, that is always so cool and absolutely dope, I think, when the teams, they all get on Twitter and they give each other shout outs. They're like, best of luck on your season. I mean, it just shows the camaraderie. It's a feel-good moment. Everybody wants to see every single team do well. So it's just a cool, good feeling. I'm always going to, hey, listen, when it's time to bring up what's not going well, I'm going to tell you what's not going well. But when there's a feel-good moment, it is one thing you can depend on from Seawall Sports and Bowie Television, is that we're going to give you all of the feel-good moments too. So when these seasons start, if you haven't seen it, go on Twitter and look at all the teams that, that have wished the Washington Spirit a great season. Today, wishing the Washington Nationals a great season. So that's good feels, good vibes. Because listen, Nats fans, okay, I've shared this. I've shared this with, I shared this on a few shows already. I've shared this here in this space. I've also shared it on the First String podcast. I shared it with them to just be, just be patient. It's not, this is going to be a long one. The baseball season is already long. It's already a very long period of time, many games. But the Nats season is going to be really long. It's going to be, and I see Ron Blackwell has jumped into the chat, into the conversation that said it's not going to be a great season, Nats fans. It's just be patient. And I want to also say everyone knew this was coming. Everyone knew that this season was coming with all of the changes in the last couple of years, with the Learner still attempting to potentially sell the team. It's for sure a rebuild, and a rebuild that can take quite some time. Cade Cavalli, who was such promise, has to have Tommy John surgery. Okay. That really, here was another moment where I said, am I going to cry? Are my eyes welling up? Am I about to just lose my marbles a little bit? With this news, not what you want to hear. Not, I mean, who wants to hear that? I'm sure Cade, above all of us, did not want to hear that news, but that is, that is what it is. And I like what Ron says here, but hopefully a couple of guys will show themselves right. That's all we can hope for. All we can hope for is that some of the folks that we are seeing and that they're continuing to build, that, hey, hopefully they will prove to be other, like you said, pieces of this puzzle as they go through this rebuild. So of course we're going to be tracking the Nats, because we track all things happening in DMV sports. But I'm going to say it up front. I already know that I've repeated myself, that this is something that, yes, while we're tracking, I want to temper expectations. Okay? Temper them. And if you go to the game, like I shared on the First String podcast, just go and enjoy yourself. When they play, take me out to the ball game, sing along, get some good seats. Hopefully you go on a good weather day, and go with some people that you want to do some team building, relationship building with, because in case the game starts getting a little like you don't really want to watch it. Okay. That's what I would like to offer. And check in as we switch topics to Caps fans. Caps fans, love emoji, fire emoji in the chat. Caps fans, here's what I want to share with you. Caps fans. Check in if you're listening up, Washington Capitals fans. This year in 2022, 2023, I think will be the staple stamp of what Alexander Ovechkin has done for Washington Capitals history, National Hockey League history, DC sports history, and just overall sports history. Okay, because the Caps not having that great of a season. So I think, and it happens. We all know this. But this season is the year that this was Alexander Ovechkin's. It's always been his year, as far as I'm concerned. But in terms of his mark on sports history, hockey history, you name it, he's in there. He is in there. So despite, like I always say, and I've been saying it for a long time, hit that love button, fire emoji, drop it in the chat. If you have heard me say, if nothing else, go to a hockey game, because there's so much fun. And also, by the way, you are watching live history when you are watching Alexander Ovechkin play the game of hockey. And I'm going to stick to it because it's the truth. And you want to see it. We complain so much about players leaving and not wanting to stay. And Alexander Ovechkin has been in a Washington Capitals jersey his entire career, and plans on finishing his career out. That's why he, as his own agent, that's the deal that he set up. And so if nothing else, go watch that, because I would hate for you to regret not seeing it, because we're gonna hear his name for the rest of all of our lives. That's just is what it is. And it's incredible, because we don't get that luxury in the DMV when it comes to sports. Let's just call a spade a spade. Okay. Moving on to the Wizards. Wizards fans, where are you all? Love button, fire emoji. Come on, Wizards fans. I know you're out there, and I know you're ready to have a chat. And while we get into this, let's start here. Why don't we? The injury report for the Wizards versus Orlando game Brad is out. Kuz is out. Gaff is questionable. Gaff was questionable against the Boston Celtics and then ended up being out for that game. Here's the injury report as it stands right now. You want to make sure you're following along and checking in on Inside the Wizards on sportsillustrated.com, si.com. You want to for sure be keeping up with that because we'll be having updates on injury reports for the Wizards and the Magic, always the Wizards and the opposing team. So you want to make sure you're checking in there. I have a very simple question. Who are the Wizards? Who are they? Who are they? I'm going to tell you that. I was sitting there with my colleague, Karita Parks. Our seats were next to each other, watching the Wizards take on the Boston Celtics, right? Kuz is out, Brad is out, Gaff is out. Okay. We know where the season stands. Celtics pretty much at full strength. Tatum's coming back. He's playing. Jaylen Brown's playing. Marcus Smart is playing. Horford, everybody's there for the most part, right? Everybody's there. And I said, as I'm watching, right? And then you start to get rid of, you just start to watch and say, okay, they're up, but they're going to end up losing because that's what they do. The Wizards have been losing, big leads all season. And then you really start to pay attention to the game. We've seen other teams come in Capital One Arena and not play well. And the Wizards are up. And yet the Wizards will still end up losing. And I said to myself as I'm watching this game, I'm waiting for the punchline, right? Because the game is going incredibly well. I'm watching Denny, Turbo, Avdia, and KP going to KP. Can we all just get a love button or a fire emoji to the fact that Kristaps Porzingis is going to Kristaps Porzingis? He's been vintage unicorn all season. Okay, I've been very happy with KP all season long. Monte Morris is up or down. DeLon Wright is a player who I may have shared here on the show, but DeLon is excellent on defense. You've seen him in big moments where he makes a play, but from a scoring perspective, the Wizards as a team just can't finish. But from a defensive perspective, when DeLon was out with that injury for a few weeks, he was absolutely the difference maker. You could tell, they need DeLon back because DeLon he's a key piece to their defensive puzzle. And he's got great energy as well. I'm sitting there and I'm seeing Johnny Davis play hard. He's playing hard defense. I'm seeing Johnny Davis just go up and try to get the rebound. I'm watching Johnny Davis just pull up for the jumper, pull up for the three. And yeah, sure, he might miss it, but sometimes now he's making it. But it's the fact that he's even trying and he's getting in the muck of things down in the paint that I'm like, well, would you look at this? Whoa. Even Kendrick Nunn was trying to get some out there. He was all involved. And I had asked the question not too long ago, well, where's Kendrick Nunn? Is he still on the team? Let me look over there at the bench. Yes, he's over there. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching the Wizards. I see them sit some of their starters. And you can tag Karita Parks right now on Twitter, whatever. I told her, because at this point, the Celtics said, whatever, fourth quarter, it's like 5 minutes left. I see them start to come back. And we've been through this drill before. I told Karita, I said, I'm watching this bench. And here's what Coach Wes Unseld Jr. better do. He better put his starters back in. Because if he doesn't put the starters back in, they're going to lose. Point blank, period. You got to know your audience. You got to know what you're doing. Just because they're rocking out with, the Celtics are comfortably in the playoffs, okay? There's no harm, no foul for them. But I'm like, hey, you want to send a message? Your second and third team they about to go down the tubes right before our eyes. We've been through this before. I said, this is what I want to see. I said, if Coach Unseld puts the starters back in, they want to win this game. They want to win this game. And I see this comment here, and I absolutely want to acknowledge it. It is from Melvin Russ McCray. And happy birthday to your mom, Russ. Please tell her I said happy birthday to her. Yes, you did help them beat Boston. So much so that I said, Russ, you're going to have to watch the rest of the games for the rest of the season, okay? Matter of fact, Brad is out tomorrow, so you need to watch that game again, all right? Once Coach Unseld put the starters back in to close the game out, I said, well, would you look at that? They wanted to win the game. They wanted to win because I could see where it was going. Okay? With that being said, we've even talked about it on Inside the Wizards on SI.com. Do the Wizards lose out or do they win out? Now, you know I'm not a fan of tanking. And Coach Unseld Jr. talked about this. Of course, he's going to get asked this question because, now let's be clear, the Celtics didn't play well. They really didn't. The shots just weren't falling for them, and sometimes that happens. But I'm going to tell you something. The Wizards hit the gas on the Celtics too. And I have to laugh, a moment of transparency. You know, sometimes I have to share moments of transparency with you all because we believe in transparency and authenticity here on Seawall Sports and Bowie Television. And that is, you know, we don't share. We don't do any of that in the media section. You better hold it together, especially if you're sitting around me. If you get to acting crazy around me, I'm going to tell you, this is not where we do that, okay? But in the fourth quarter, the Celtics started coming back. The starters got in. I think it might have been Jordan Goodwin. I think that might have gotten a steal. Then he got the ball, went down and slammed it, and he was showing every bit of swag that he has. And your girl, Seawall, Candy Wallace, sitting right here talking to you all, said out loud, that's what I'm talking about, Denny. That's what I'm talking about. And I didn't jump up, but I was definitely very loud, and I definitely did my hand like this, and I'm sure some people saw me. And I'm not apologizing for that because I was happy for him in that moment. And I said, you know what? But who are the Wizards, though? I said all of that to say, and then we definitely got to jump to the Commanders. Who are these people? Who are they? Do they know? And do they believe? Are they going to stick with it? Because it's why can't you do that all the time? From a consistent perspective, you got the pieces there. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for this team not to be in the playoffs. I've been saying that, and I'm going to continue to say that because it's a truth. It's a fact from what I can see. Because when they're on, they're on. But that's the problem. You're off most of the time. And that is an issue. When you want to win, you consistently beat who you're supposed to beat. And you put the gas on the people that's the competitors. That's supposed to be the best. They're supposed to be one of the best teams in the league, especially in the East. Oh, yeah, we're going to take it to you. With Kuz and Brad and Gaff on the bench. Now what y'all going to do? Now everybody want to be aggressive at the last minute. Okay. It's still disappointing because they could have been doing that all along. But it was nice to see. So I don't know who they are. Who knows? I don't even know what team is going to show up every day. I just go to the arena and I know who I am. And that's it. I know me, and everybody else, I guess once I start talking to them or once they start playing, I'll figure it out from there. But I just, I don't know. But it was nice to see, but it was also kind of hurtful. It made me feel some type of way because I'm like, why can't you do this? Why can't you do this? So, it is what that is. And I see Russ comment here, Corey Kispert and Denny Avdia. Denny Avdia, hey, Denny definitely made me smile and actually made. I have to actually. I need to tell Denny that actually, because I don't show any emotion. I kind of just tune out some days. Commanders fans, we got about 5 minutes. We got about 5 minutes. Commanders fans, love button, fire emoji, jump right on in. Let's just get right to it. We know that the Commanders have attended, of course, they have scouts and everybody everywhere. We know Martin Mayhew has gone to Ohio State's Pro Day, Alabama's Pro Day. Right tackle DeJuan Jones has been invited to Washington's top 30 visit. Okay. Uh, Eric Bieniemy attended Tennessee Volunteers quarterback Hendon Hooker's pro day. We know Martin Mayhew was at Notre Dame's pro day. Martin Mayhew was also at Anthony Richardson's pro day. A Commander's scouts and presence were at Maryland's pro day yesterday. A lot of eyes on cornerback Deontay Banks. Here's what I want everybody then to understand. Sure does seem like to me they'll be drafting a quarterback somewhere. I don't think it's in the first round, you all, or anything like that. But listen, they got their eyes on the quarterback. And here's why I want to bring this up. Yes, they're going with Sam Howell. That's the story. Everybody's sticking to it, and that's good. I like consistent messaging. I like consistent public messaging. That's very good. But the thing of it is, we want Sam to work out. But the thing of it is, that's not who Eric Bieniemy picked. It's okay. We're going to see what Sam does. But pay attention to this because I think it's an important point. Don't lose sight of this because it's a very important point. They're continuing to look at offensive tackle, which is very good. We know that they're looking at the right things. Linebacker, cornerback, still two positions of great need. So far, from a free agency in terms of building up depth in the way that things are going in terms of what you are looking for from a new player, a rookie, I think they're doing all the right things. In the midst of a sale, here's the reality. While we got a few more love button fire emoji, if you will be happy when the team is officially publicly announced and sold. Team is getting sold. It's sold. It's out, right? I told you all this last week in last week's episode to just let the time do what it just let it do what it do. Everybody will be happy soon. Seriously, you should be happy now because it's happening, right? It's happened, it's happening. All right. So just be patient. It's will be publicly announced sooner than you think. But if not, then you just keep track of the May time frame. Going into the draft, hey, now we're talking pro days, we're talking draft, and it's like, oh, do you really want to get into all of this when you are in the midst of draft, and it takes away from everything happening with the draft and the concentration that needs to go there as the football staff is trying to build their team. Good point. Great point. But this thing will be over soon, and then there'll be other things to be discussed, like the new stadium, and just actually trying to win football games and make the playoffs and be convincing. Can they come up and really be a competitor, a team that is feared, a team that is like, I don't want to play them? That's what we all need to be really concerned about, because the team is there's no questions about, well, it's over. It's just wait for the public announcement. It's okay. It's all right. Wait for the public announcement, because all that is done. Just ensure that this team is prepared to win. And I'm going to say something. When I was walking out to my seat for the Wizards game, and I was talking to the great David Aldridge, and he smiled at me. He said, "Katie," I said, "DA." And he smiled. He said, "You know what?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "The Commanders are going to be good this year." I said, "I know." And with that, I'm going to leave y'all until next week. Okay, until next week. I'm going to start having some of my friends, some of my favorite people in the business starting to join me on the show, so we can talk draft and talk upcoming between Wizards and Caps and all that, because the Wizards and Cap seasons will maybe very soon here coming to a close. We got to get ready for the draft, and we're going to have some fun coming up to the end of the season of the DMV Sports Update. I've been telling you all that we're doing this in seasons now, and so this will conclude as the draft and the Wizards and the Cap seasons conclude. We'll be definitely still tracking the Mystics and the Nat season, but we'll be dropping shorter snippets of that information for you all to dive into and creating content for that. But then the Washington Commanders update and the weekly DMV Sports Update will be both back in August. So always be looking for both shows to come back in August. While I'd like to say I'm going to be off for the summer, I'm not off, because it's always just more work to do. So it's more time to do some work, but never think that I'm just going to be going away, because I'm not. And I'll be still checking in as I do a lot of the time with some content and some news. So you all, thank you for watching, as you always do. Love the comments, love the engagement. And listen, I'll be seeing you guys again soon.
You're not on the field, court, or ice. You're on the couch. From DG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, C. Wall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from a hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's C-Wall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. See all that we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.